wanted to bring up cancel culture, which is our topic today, because of the back and forth I had on Facebook. Brought up this conversation about cancel culture. We have seen. So let me do it. The definition of cancel culture is a popular practice of withdrawing support for public figures and companies after they have done or said something considered offensive. Examples for people: R. Kelly, Roseanne, Kevin Hart tried to cancel Kevin Hart, Kanye West, Persept Michelle, Jussie Smollett, Tory Lanez, Bill Cosby. Companies that have done it, not only companies but entertainment entities. Gone with the Wind has been canceled. I don't know if y'all heard about that. They actually took it off of streaming services. Cops got canceled because Cops got canceled for me for the stupidest reason possible, because it depicted cops in positive light. I thought it was so stupid why it got canceled. If you're from Houston's, if you remember, T.I. Was a big campaign with T.I. in Houston's. Gucci, do we remember what Gucci did with the face mask that had the black face? H&M, the coolest monkey in the jungle. We seen that people have threatened the Washington football team. They have now changed their name from the Redskins, but when they had the Redskins, a lot of people were trying to cancel them as well. And the latest one, Wells Fargo. Wells Fargo's the latest one. I don't know if it's a huge cancel campaign for Wells Fargo, but it's a cancel campaign in my household for Wells Fargo. So, my first question with you guys about cancel culture is, because we're going to get into the two biggest right now is Ice Cube and 50 Cent. So those are going to be the two biggest ones. But before we get into those, do you guys think canceling someone actually works? Like, do you guys think cancel culture is actually an effective tool? Does anybody want to go first? Char, you're moving your head.
I'll wait for everybody. I didn't want to go. I'll wait, but
okay. I'll go first. You go first.
You named a bunch of those items, and there are differences in each one of them. So some of the ones you named is justified in terms of canceling that particular item. But I think cancel culture is it's good on one end, but it's a very unforgiving concept. Because if someone could be as perfect as, think of giving things and being philanthropic and all those things, but they just do one thing that's considered bad for, the culture or whatever, then we want to start canceling it. So we don't necessarily have a barometer to measure if we should be forgiving that person, because if that person truly is remorseful for what they did, or if someone did something so horrendous that, okay, yes, you need to be canceled. Like, two of the examples you brought up, Wells Fargo, Bill Cosby. They did some jacked up stuff. You know what I'm saying? So, in that situation, we probably should be focused on canceling it. But to bring up, other things that we try to cancel, like H&M. It was a bad marketing tool, but is it to the point to put all our energy toward not buying things there anymore? But what I'm saying, I know you're shaking your head there, but I'm not saying that it wasn't offensive. But the question we have to ask ourselves is, and I don't know or not, but does this company have a history of being offensive, or was it a situation where they just made a mistake based off of a marketing plan? I mean, it could be argued that if they had a Jamal or someone of black culture, or someone who was black or that was there that could have caught that and said, okay, you know what, dudes, we don't need to release this. That's debatable. But instead of canceling it, maybe they can start a bigger conversation of what that company can do to help become more inclusive and understand in different cultures and people in terms of what they may have found offensive.
All right, well, let me say this. Let me say this, and I'll let y'all talk. First of all, yes, that's a huge problem because they don't have somebody of color in the boardroom. You don't have to be black, but somebody of color in the boardroom to pick up on this. For example, the Houston Rockets a couple of years ago, they were putting out for the Chinese calendar the Year of the Monkey. And soon as people saw it, they was like, no. I mean, they had these things. I believe they were putting them out on the seats before the game. And soon, I think a player, or I'm just going to say James Harden, saw it and they was like, no. And as soon as they said it, they took everything back. But the problem is,
that's a Chinese cultural thing. So it's not offensive. It's actually a Year of the Monkey based off of Chinese culture. So that's what we
No,
got
It's
to
you
find.
can't.
perception. That's
Huh?
You can't
perception.
do that
Yeah.
because no, Char, because a pig is just an animal. But in the context of culture, it's a negative, derogative comment to police. You can't do that.
So with this instance, I mean, you gotta understand your audience. So the NBA is predominantly a black league, right? So you
Yes.
just can't put out and your team and the team. I get it. It's a cultural thing, a Chinese cultural thing, but you can't put out the year of the monkey when most of your team is black.
And that's a
You
derogatory
understand?
comment for
Doesn't
black
that
people.
So
fall
there's
under the
already a
category
term
of
towards black
understanding
people.
woke or not?
So and I'm
No.
probably like one of the least offended people in this group, but there's always optics. Optics is always big. So you have to know the audience that you're playing to. Most people that watch the NBA are black. I mean, in the U.S. at least are black. So you're going to see that and be like, what the hell? Because most people don't know the Chinese zodiac.
Mm-hmm.
But
So
doesn't
so
that
I could ask somebody what's your zodiac, your Chinese zodiac sign, and they wouldn't even know.
Okay,
I'm the
but
ox,
isn't
by
that
the
in a
way.
sense hypocrisy in a sense in terms of what we're saying? Now,
No.
I'm not disagreeing with something being offensive based off of your audience, but if we're asking people to have an understanding of what's our culture and what we believe, should we have the same thing when it comes to if we're going to have a situation where we want the NBA to represent Black History Month or represent Black Lives Matter to understand our what's important to us, we're not the only minority that lives here. There are other minorities, and that's what sometimes we fall into that category sometimes. And this may be me being just knowing that culture, like it's not only the year of the monkey. There's different years that goes
That
along
was the
with
year of the monkey.
Chinese
It
culture.
wasn't the year
So
of the
we
rabbit
can't,
or the year of the ox. It was
huh?
the year of the monkey or the tiger. It was the year of the monkey. So it being other years is relevant. At this point, it was the year of the monkey. No, and I think you're completely wrong in this situation. It's like we don't do things when we celebrate Black History Month. We're not offending anybody. Black Lives Matter isn't offending people. White people just took it because they want to be offended by it, but we're not offended by it. It's not something that we're doing that's offending other people. If we were doing something like that offended Native Americans, then we shouldn't do it, regardless of if that's our culture or not. Then we shouldn't do it. EJ, let me let you get in on this.
Yeah. Well, number one, the issue with corporate organizations, I think, should be handled differently than entertainers or sports individuals, because corporate organizations have been doing it for years. So no, you don't get to get a pass. You don't get to have one instance, especially when you have an entire group of people that are responsible for making sure the stuff that you put out is not offensive, and you choose not to hire Black people to be the voice of reason for a company that's supposed to be the most inclusive,
I mean,
that's
or if
supposed to
you
be
hire
the
a
most
black person and they're a yes man and just like go along with like
exactly.
whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, like, no, you don't get that pass because you clearly understand you're supposed to be the most inclusive, you're supposed to be the most progressive company in that particular light. So no, there's no pass for you. And the only way that we're going to be able to have people understand that, look, you can't get away with that is if we say, no, this is a hardball, we're canceling you out. And you see what happened when that happened. The response was, okay, we need to change some things up. That's how we get things heard. That's how we get things changed in that respect. Now,
I
as
think
far as the year of the monkey, the United States is not China. We're not Chinese. That's not our culture. It's not majority of people here. There's one thing to celebrate that in a light where we're celebrating the Chinese culture in that year, but that's something that's offensive. So the way you put it out has to be has to be more intentioned and has to be more thought out. We can't just use things that are offensive to one person and just like think that okay, because it's associated with another culture, it's all right. It's not okay.
but
In the
American
United States,
culture is Chinese culture.
the history of
But
monkey is
but you gotta
not a positive
understand.
thing for Black people. It is
But
just
you
like
understand more.
that's just
They
like for Native Americans, the history we should have been done with the Redskins a long ass time ago. That's been offensive to Native Americans for a very, very
for a
long
long
time.
time.
We should have gotten rid of all sports that have. I went to a school where it was the Indiana University of Pennsylvania. It was the Indians, and then they changed a bear to name Cherokee. So they used to have a Cherokee guy, like tribal Cherokee people come in and do dances at their games. Then they changed it to a bear name Cherokee. Now they're the Crimson Tide or Crimson Heat or Tide or something like that. Those kinds of things should have been changed because they're offensive to an entire culture that is a part of the United States.
But
You have to understand the audience.
You don't see the difference between a team that's called the Washington Redskins and a Chinese culture that have one of their years being the year of the monkey. You don't see
Now,
how
my question to you is
Saying,
more:
and that's where you're
was
completely
that
forgetting it.
the first time they used a Chinese zodiac to promote anything? That's the thing. If they were doing it from the beginning, like say they started with the year of the ox, the year of the rat, whatever, and then went into the year of the monkey, then you'll understand, like, hey, they've been doing it for a while. This is what they do. They want to, at this time of the year, they represent this culture at this time. So now it's understandable when you do the year of the monkey. Now, if you jump straight into the year of the monkey, there's a slight problem. I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with it, but your optics are not great.
Well,
When you
Roland,
have
can I ask you a question?
sure.
I know they don't have this, but would they ever do Year of the Pig? Do you think they would ever do Year of the Pig?
No.
Hold on one moment.
It's tops, right?
Yeah.
So
no, it's my same instance with you. Is the same thing that I'm saying with Shar. Is that if they started out with saying the year of the tiger, wherever the first zodiac sign is, and then they kept going it, then everybody will understand. But you can't just jump into one thing that there's criticism to other people and expect it to be okay, especially when your league is predominantly black. Your players are predominantly black. Now, if you had started when Yao Ming was there, and you were like, okay, we're going to celebrate his culture because he's very big on his culture, and we all know that, then that would have been different. We all understand why you're doing it. And he was very instrumental on your team and in your community.
Right.
But you didn't. You just
Right. So let me get back to the question. Go ahead, Charmin.
I want to say one thing about this because this is kind of my problem with it. It could have been a situation where someone could have considered it to be offensive, but it was also an opportunity for people to explain that it is part of another culture. Because the problem I feel that a lot of us have is that we're so quick to get offended without trying to understand the reason why we may or might not be offended. We stop at it being offensive and then never do the analysis of thinking, well, maybe there's not a reason to be offended. In a situation with that, in my opinion, I feel like that's where we kind of fall short of saying, oh, my bad, this is not actually something that's offensive toward me. This is part of someone else's culture. That's different from Redskins in terms of changing the name when we know the negative history associated with that particular name in terms of the culture of our country. But that's different because we're not just in America. It's just not black and white. There are so many other cultures that make up this country that we can't just focus on our own, and we have to go ahead and focus on other people that are part of this nation. And that's just my opinion sometimes.
No, this is why you can't sit here and talk about the Redskin history, but not talk about the history of a monkey to black people.
That's also true, but but you can't take every monkey situation and apply it to black people because there are other it's not because it's also other cultures where that's not a negative context. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying that it's not it could come across as offensive as originally seeing it, but it also encourages others to expand beyond just being automatically offended and understand other cultures as well. That's all I'm saying.
I get what you're saying.
If white people ruin that, so be mad at them. Don't be mad at black
I get what you say.
I'm not mad at black people. I'm not saying if someone walks in there and see it, that they won't think that's offensive. I agree with y'all. But what I'm also saying is that it should be a point that every image that we have, that we automatically go to being offended, and also take an effort to go ahead and understand other cultures. And I think sometimes we want people to understand us, but we don't want to take the effort of understanding other cultures as well. And I think that's something we need to kind of focus on as well.
Okay, so I'm gonna go with you. Okay, I understand what you're saying. Now, if that was a plan, someone should have said, you know what? Let's hold off to next year and start it next year with the year of whatever it was going to be. I personally don't care about it. but you have to think about your optics. That's the whole thing. Being a company is all about your optics. If your optics don't look good to the public, you won't sell. So you have to be conscious of every minority in your group. So yes, you want to celebrate the Chinese New Year. Start it the next year. Start it the next year, whatever year it is, and continue it that date every year. And when it gets back to the year of the monkey, no one will be offended, because you know why? You've been doing it so long, or you've been had a plan in place for so long that everybody understands, well, at this time of year, we celebrate the Chinese zodiac.
Right.
And you talk about the Russian Redskins, it's like, okay, yes, the Redskins, their name has been fought for so long to be changed by Native American groups that it so happened it took all this happening now for it to be changed. But nobody cared when it was just Native Americans fighting to get that name changed. They don't try to change Florida State's name because it symbolizes the Seminoles, the only Native American group that was not conquered.
Don't you think that's the bigger issue than the one that we were talking about earlier?
All right.
No, I think that go ahead.
We gotta move on. We can't spend this whole time talking about.
I know, but I just wanted to say this one thing in regard to that. I think that it's important that people first of all, for Black people, for so long, Black people said nothing, and they took a lot, and they did not say what they felt was offensive to them. They just kind of played along with it for such a long period of time. I think it's important that we let people know what is offensive to us. Now, I don't think that every single thing that's done should be considered offensive, but there are things that are a part of our history that we don't want to continue to see imagery of. Monkey is one of them. We don't want to see that. Like, that's just not something that we want to see because of the negative connotation. I don't care if you are trying to just like throw something out with a monkey on it and put a kid in it, and not only put a kid in it, put a Black kid in it. That isn't a great decision. I don't think that with this whole situation where they're putting a monkey on whatever they were going to put on the seats, that obviously isn't a great decision either. There's a way to go about doing things and including other cultures, and the way that some of these things are being done are not in a way that is consciously or socially aware or conscious. And you have to be that particular about how you are putting things out in public as a company.
Right. And so the
But I
question,
guess my bigger point to that is that falls into the
we have to
same.
move on from this
Well, I
topic.
know, but this one more thing. It falls into what we're talking about for this conversation in terms of being woke and how woke, and determining what's cancel culture and what's not cancel culture.